It's Thursday, January 30th, 2020, coming to you from South Orange County, California. I just got done with some work here over the last 24 hours, and I have a break in my day. I wanted to make this video. I am absolutely shocked and horrified with what I'm watching take place economically and what I'm watching take place with this pandemic that seems to be worsening by the hour. A couple days ago, I mentioned this pandemic. Many people wrote in and said it's being overreacted. I'm overreacting. People are overreacting. That's nothing more serious than the flu. We are finding out that this is much more serious than the flu, and that it is spreading much, much faster than the flu. And earlier today, I saw the Dow Jones down 200 points. The World Health Organization came out and announced that we now have a global pandemic. And shockingly, the markets came back. Dow Jones closes up 125 points. So earlier today, I don't know what the low was, but I saw the Dow Jones down 200 points. World Health Organization comes out, announces a global pandemic, and we close up 125 points. It pulled gold back, it pulled silver back, and it just seems the worse the news, the better for the markets. But I think by now, we've all figured out what is propping the stock market up. Wall Street Journal this morning. And again, I apologize that I wasn't able to follow this a little more closely today. I'm getting caught up. But Wall Street Journal today, the Fed adds $82.58 billion to markets this morning. So there you have it, almost $83 billion in repo injections this morning. That's what pushed these markets back up. I mean, everybody should be outraged with the criminality that's taking place with these markets. There is absolutely no reality to this Ponzi scheme of what's happening to the real economy, what's happening to the real world now. A pandemic now is official. I read a story that we have our first human-to-human case where a wife in Chicago passed this on to her husband, who now has tested positive for the coronavirus. So we now have human-to-human transmission here in America, right from my hometown of Chicago, Illinois. But again, it doesn't matter. What matters is this. What matters is what's on the front page here on the Wall Street Journal. Fed adds another $82.58 billion to these markets. These markets don't care about epidemics. They don't care about pandemics. They don't care about depressions, recessions, economic meltdowns. All it cares about is that it is getting an injection of liquidity and cash from the Federal Reserve. The buyer of last resort is keeping everything going. You know, these people who say there's nothing to worry about, when you see people in these cities in China building walls, they're literally taking bricks and rocks and stones and closing off entrances into their cities because they don't want outsiders coming in and contaminating them. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not the flu. This is much, much more serious than the flu. That's on dailymail.com. But again, they're spraying this it's like an insecticide, like a bug spray with these machines all over the cities. This was very interesting on Zero Hedge today. Senator calls for immediate shutdown of all flights from China to U.S. Where is this president? Why is he not stopping flights that are coming from China? This has to be stopped immediately. Senator Tom Cotton is calling for an immediate shutdown of all flights from China to the U.S. He warns that Beijing is lying about the full extent of the outbreak. There is no doubt. We have no idea. You know, these people, these reports earlier, these people who are talking to people in China, these videos that are coming out of China, remember, you will be imprisoned for 7, 8 years if you get caught speaking the truth in China. This is a communist regime. They're lying to their own people, and they're lying to you and I about how bad it is. I truly do believe that these people who are getting word from China, that there are well over 100,000 people infected now in China, without a doubt. I would believe that it could be 2 or 3 times that. Russia has closed its entire 2,600-mile border with China. And what are we doing? We're wide open, and we're even allowing flights to come in from Asia. It's unbelievable. It's time to shut down travel between China and the US. Cottonwood tweeted. Israel has shut flights down with China. There has been a 28% increase in virus cases overnight in China. China is lying to the US. It is lying to its own people. Here's what we officially have in China. This is a lie. 77 and 1,100 cases of coronavirus. This is a lie. But let's remember, 2 days ago, in my last video, they reported 4,500 cases. So it is now at 77 and 11 cases. So however you look at it, it is increasing, but I believe it is well over the 100,000 mark. Wuhan citizens cannot get any medical treatment. They can't even get diagnosed. Here's another thing China's doing. They don't have diagnosis kits. So why do you think that is? So they can't diagnose you and say that you have coronavirus. You have something else. You died of pneumonia. You didn't die of a virus like the coronavirus. These people were not prepared for an emergency. This is why I make these videos, okay? I need to be preparing much more. I know I make daily videos to prepare every which way from sunset to sundown to sunset, but I'm going to tell you, I'm not prepared enough. This is a wake-up call to myself and to everybody out there. This is why I talk about preparation, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, financial. It's all going to matter, okay? You better be spiritually strong, walking close to God. Physically, you need to get in better shape. I need to get in better shape. Make sure you're taking multivitamins, colloidal silver, getting vitamin C, vitamin D, and just being in the best physical shape you can be. There's nothing 100%, okay? But put the odds in your favor. If you're taking vitamins, if you're eating a good diet, if you're not obese, you're taking care of your body, you're gonna have a better chance than the 300 or 400 pound person who ignores health, who's not taking vitamins, who's not looking after their body, looking after their physical well-being. Those people have a much higher chance of being a victim than the person who's taking care of themselves. Again, be walking close to God. You want to be spiritually strong, mentally strong, and of course financially. There are going to be huge ramifications coming financially because of this outbreak. Again, don't just be a victim. You don't want to be that person just sitting there dying, okay? Make sure that you have food preparations, water preparations. Of course, everybody in America, for the most part, believes this could never happen to them. And I'm sure that a lot of Chinese never thought that they would be sitting in a pandemic right now with people dropping dead on hospital floors, people dropping dead on subways, in cities and parks and shopping malls. People are literally just dropping dead. It's like out of a zombie video game. How many of those people thought that this would ever attack them, that they'd ever be a victim of a pandemic? That article in the Sun today, 7,000 people on lockdown on cruise ship after Chinese couple fall ill. A husband and wife from Hong Kong have been put in isolation. The ship is being held at the port of Civitavecchia, 35 miles north of Rome, 751 Chinese on board. But there are 7,000 total people on this ship, many of them from other countries. And now it's a waiting game to see how many other people are going to fall victim to this virus on this ship. So again, this thing is now becoming a worldwide problem. Nationalfile.com, My Patriot Supply, it's an emergency food company, is running out of inventory. Just again, this is another prime example of what happens when things hit the fan. Don't wait till an emergency happens, ladies and gentlemen. Do something about it right now. Hopefully this gets contained. Hopefully this goes away. And if it goes away tomorrow, thank God. And that would be incredibly great news. If it doesn't, we're going to have some big problems. But if it does, great. But what will happen is, as soon as a week or two goes by, people will forget, they become complacent, and they don't worry about preparation, okay? They don't worry about security. They don't worry about food. They don't worry about water. They just forget very, very quickly. One day, something is going to happen, and it's going to happen right here in America, and it's not going to go away, okay? This may just be a warning, okay? And you should take this as a warning. If nothing comes of it, if we only have a couple hundred people in this country who come down with this virus, I pray to God that every one of them will be okay and survives, then take it as a warning, okay? And get ready, because something much bigger will come, whether that's economically, and now we do know that pandemics do exist and they can hit extremely fast and extremely hard. Make sure you are preparing. Very interesting article today on shtfplan.com. 3M cuts 1,500 jobs even as demand for masks increases. And again, if this pandemic continues to get worse, on top of this global slowdown, this could get very, very scary. Just think about the American auto plants that are over in China right now and what this is going to do to the auto markets over in China. This has really serious ramifications financially. Despite soaring demand for products like antivirus masks, which are sold out worldwide, 3M will slash 1,500 jobs in a global restructuring program as its auto parts and electronic segments come under amid slowing economic growth. So, this is definitely about the worst thing that could happen during a global slowdown. Think about that. This is literally the worst thing that could possibly happen during this global meltdown. Now, we got some real interesting news that came out yesterday. U.S. pending home sales plunge most since 2010. Again, more bad news. At some point, they're just not going to be able to cover this up. Pending home sales for December crashed 4.9% month over month. This was the biggest drop since May of 2010. New home sales are down 3 months in a row, but you're being told by the media on a daily basis that everything is great, that consumer is strong, unemployment's at an all-time low. It's all a bunch of lies. Mortgage rates are below 4%. We've got creative loans, subprime loans coming back into the housing market. We've got a booming economy, low employment, and we've got this media who continues to want to brainwash us and tell us that everything is so great. We have the home builders with this positive sentiment, how great everything is and why every American needs to buy a home. It's not that great. They're throwing everything in the kitchen sink to get people into this housing market, and it's not working. Imagine what's going to happen when this economy turns. Uber and Lyft drivers are not going to keep up with the cost of housing, nor are they going to support the housing market in America, nor is $10, $12, $13 an hour jobs. It just isn't going to work. Look, mathematically, this is not going to work. We have a massive pension crisis. Social Security has been robbed. It's not going to be there for me, probably won't be there for you. More than likely, if you have a pension right now, there's a good chance that your pension is going to get cut in half, and a very good chance that it may not even be there at some point. The global slowdown could now come to a standstill. Global trade growth could stall out. The phase one deal is going to have big problems. I don't believe that China is going to be able to follow through with what they agreed to with the agricultural products that they promised, that they agreed that they would be purchasing. I believe that they're going to have a very hard time sticking to this agreement because now this pandemic that is taking place. Look, China is lying to its own people. It is lying to the United States of America without a doubt. One thing that is increasing, though, is the demand for prepper properties. This was on Zero Hedge. Soars amid concerns about social stability, properties, food, water, asset security. Society is heading towards a nightmare. You are being shown the warning signs right now, and yet most people in America are going to ignore these signs They're going to continue to go on with their daily lives because this doesn't concern them until it does. You do not want to be, I mean, they're showing people physically fighting now for food over in China. There are 60 million people in quarantine, and there's going to be more. It has now been announced that this is a global pandemic. So most people here, especially in the US, are going to ignore it. They'll be at the Super Bowl, they'll be at the Super Bowl parties, they're going to continue to watch their reality TV, they'll continue to go to the movie houses, they'll continue to be around large crowds, they'll continue to put their families at risk until something happens to them. Then it'll be an emergency. It's just so sad to see the zombification of Americans. Society is heading towards a nightmare, ladies and gentlemen. We have a pandemic now. This virus is growing out of control. We are on the cusp of an economic collapse. This may be what triggers it. We are going to see society at some point break down, as we're starting to see that happening all over the globe. We will see food shortages. Look, we already know that our farmers in the Midwest had one of the worst years in history as far as agricultural products being grown here, production here in America. They were absolutely annihilated. So we don't even have as much food on reserve as we normally do. And what if, and this is what I'm saying, what if what is happening in China starts happening here in America, where you could see a quarantine in a major city? Do you have food and water? Do you have security? Can you hunker down for 2, 3, 4 weeks, a month? Who knows? We're really in uncharted water here, very, very deep water where we've never been. We've gotten very soft. We've not been a generation of people that has really been tested, who's had adversity. We're not like our grandparents who went through the Great Depression. You know, there's been so much entitlement here in America where people don't have to work, they get free money. And they haven't had to fend for themselves. They've been reliant on a government who gives them food and water, gives them everything, housing. And so at some point, people are going to have no excuses because every person will be on their own. The government isn't going to help you. The police isn't going to help you. The only one that can help you is you, okay? The government, the banks, the police, you are on your own, okay? And this is why we must be self-sufficient, because those people in China were not prepared for what just happened to them. I'm going to continue to stress that you're buying food, you're buying water, you're getting in better physical shape, but also take advantage that these metals, the two most undervalued assets in the world, are continually being put on sale, and take advantage of that, because this market is no doubt on borrowed time. And when it goes, stocks, bonds, real estate, all these overvalued assets are going to plummet to the floor. So take advantage of the opportunity that you don't have to wait in line for food. You don't have to wait in line for water. You don't have to wait in line to go buy a couple ounces of gold or silver. That happens when the emergency sets in. That happens when everybody wakes up and figures out that there's an emergency. You don't want to be at the store at that time. You don't want to be trying to get gold and silver at that time. You do not want to be trying to buy security at that time. You need to have it right now. You know, a lot of people will write into me and they complain that they don't have any money. They can't buy any silver, they can't buy any gold, they don't have any money. And it's funny, when you look these people up on social media, one of the first things you'll see is they're holding a $7 latte from Starbucks. So yet they complain, they'll write to me, complain, they have no money, no savings, can't buy an ounce of silver. But when you look them up on social media, if they don't have a cartoon name, when you look them up, you'll find pictures of them with $7 lattes or drinking a Mai Tai or a martini at a restaurant and trying to impress all their friends. So these are the same people, always complain that they don't have anything. These are the same people who make, $39,000 a year, but they're living like they make $79,000 a year. Here's a news flash. If you make $50,000 a year, you need to live like you're making $30,000 a year. You need to start putting money away. You need to save. No matter how much money you have or don't have, if you cannot save, you're going to be in big trouble. You need to be saving cash, and you need to be putting some of that cash into hard assets. I don't think there's any other place or any other thing you can do right now other than be very, very cautious, patient, save cash, purchase assets, sit back and wait. And while you're sitting back and waiting, get in better physical shape. Because everything you can do, whether it's taking vitamins, taking your colloidal silver, eating cleaner, working out at the gym, every bit of that is going to stack the odds in your favor to survive if this pandemic begins to explode here in America. Sitting around the couch, eating a box of Twinkies, getting up to 300 or 400 pounds, and giving up and saying, I don't have any money, although you can afford a $7 latte and a box of Twinkies, you are guaranteeing that you are going to lose, that you will be a victim of this economic collapse. You will be a victim of a pandemic. Do not be this person. Get off the couch, get in shape, start saving some money. And you know what? Don't live, if you're making 50 grand a year, don't live like you're making 50 grand a year. Live like you're making 30 grand a year. Okay, that's what you got to do. You got to make sacrifices. Maybe for the next 2, 3, 5 years, you got to live poor. And you got to start acquiring assets, and you got to start saving cash, and you got to start paying the debts down. We're running out of time. Nobody knows if we even have 2, 3, or 4 years left. We could have 2 days, 2 months, 2 weeks. Nobody knows. I think we need to start heeding the warnings that we're seeing. And I cannot believe that people just continue to ignore what is going on around the world. Again, it's not just economic, it's not just social. We now have a pandemic. And I mean, we have so many unlit bombs here in the US. All it takes is for one of these things to get lit, and we're gonna be in a whole different world.